So my neighbors across the street had this big Norway maple tree cut down, and I was able to convince the people that cut the tree down to give me a big section of the trunk. The log is far too big for my sawmill. My sawmill handles a maximum of 40 centimeters, and this one's easily 50 centimeters. So I have to split this one apart. Man, that sucker's heavy. So I'd like to split this log along here. And my experience is if I drive one wedge into it, it will split wherever it wants to. But with two wedges, I can usually control where the split line goes. So let's see how this will go. Well, this wedge just sucks. It's just not pointy enough. So it's really hard to drive it in. This one, easy. When I watch that video carefully now, I can see that wedge bounces out by just as much as I pound it in every time. So really, for the most part, I was making no progress at all. Just getting really tired. Well, it's pretty close to the line that I drew on it. I need to get those steel wedges back out, so I'm going to follow it up with some wooden wedges just to split it open. So I started this split with an electric chainsaw just to make it easier to get the wedges in there. Only problem is the chainsaw really doesn't like to cut this end grain. Not with my wimpy little electric anyways. Well, that log sure is a twisted mess. But I hope I'll be able to mill some straight pieces out of what's left of it. Since I already quartered my log, I figured I might as well orient the pieces on the saw in such a way that it would be like quarter sawn. So I used another chunk of wood to support the wood in a rather precarious method on the saw. But it all worked without any sort of accident. Well, that bandsaw blade doesn't cut like it used to. Time to give it some sharpening. It seems like a freshly sharpened blade will bite into the wood much better, and so the vibration problems are actually worse after the blade has just been sharpened. Now, an important safety note: be sure to read and follow all the safety instructions that came with your machine. Well, that was easy. So what's happened here is the centrifugal switch didn't close right. So how to get this going again? I think if I push start this motor, that switch will open and the next time it'll close again properly. So let's try that out. Kickstarting it with my foot just didn't work, so I had to resort to even more unsafe methods of getting that motor going. Let's see if that flywheel switch works now. Nope. Well, at the time that happened, I was almost done anyway, so I figured I'd just hand spin it up every time. But then it started working on its own, and I didn't take video of that. The rest of milling up the log really went quite uneventfully. Having finished cutting up all my logs, it was time to take down the sawmill again. I've got some ideas on how I could improve on that sawmill, but at the same time, I like the idea of having a sawmill that just dismantles into just about nothing. And really, if I made something bigger, that wouldn't be possible anymore. All the lumber that I'd cut had a lot of tree edges on it, so next I set up the bandsaw in bandsaw mode and used it to straighten up all the edges on the wood. And while I had it set up, I also used it to cut up all my scraps into convenient firewood lengths. All in all, I made enough sawdust to fill my grain bin 2/3 of the way. But I also got quite a bit of lumber out of it.